Welcome to day 15 of Hot Topics and Cool Drinks. This event is created exclusively for adults 50 and over, especially for those of us who are corporate executives, past or present, entrepreneurs, educators, and family stewards, parts of households that have invested in private education, people who understand that values, not trends, are what guide families. And each evening we gather here to center ourselves in clarity and conversation. Every night includes a featured book that aligns with purpose, legacy, and awareness, a wellness tip for women navigating menopause, a discussion about parenting in today's digital world where cruelty, misinformation, and influence culture challenge everything that we've built. And yes, every night begins and ends with poetry from my book, She Shines Anyway. Now, tonight, what we're covering is a poetry reading, of course, a nationwide topic, which is about the crisis on algorithms and accountability and family practice solutions for families. A featured book by Wayne Dyer, which would be Excuses Be Gone, with details about the author, his work, and why this book remains a transformative tool. The Menopause Minute, which is on expanding sleep health, nutrition, and long-term strategies for women navigating through midlife transitions. Our Business Corner, how corporate executives can safeguard legacies by researching partnerships, employees, and investments, with a look at digital tools and stock tickers to know. Of course, we're going to close with a poem from my book, She Shines Anyway. Okay, now before we actually get into the book, let's introduce our drink for the night, or my drink, my cool drink for the night, which is from Pop Culture. Okay, it's called Wild Berries and Lime. It's a prebiotic soda. And what I love about this drink, you guys, is that it's only 45 calories, and some of the ingredients include organic juice blend, like juices from blueberries, grapes, blackberries. You also have lime in here. You have pink peppercorn, basil, sea salt, and a live prebiotic. It's delicious. Have a sip with me. If you don't have your own, imagine you're having a sip of this, okay? And like I said, this is only 45 calories. For me, it's delicious. I give it an 8, okay, considering that it's all natural. And yeah, I give it an 8. It's really good. It's not too sweet. It's just like, even on the can it says slightly sweet. So it just has a little bit of oomph to it, but really you can taste that tartness from the grape juice and the blueberries. It's delicious. I give it an 8. Yeah. So anyway, so before I dive into the book, all right, I just wanted to share with you guys, this is my very first poetry book. All right, a project that holds a special place in my heart. And what made the experience even more powerful is that, again, and I've said this before, I was able to edit this book in under an hour. And normally that process does take me weeks or even months, but because of the efficiency of the tools available today, I was able to publish it faster than I ever had published a book before. And on this project, I actually used Amazon's KDP, which is the Kindle Direct Publishing platform, and that sped me up very quickly. Okay, it allowed me to be able to share my truth and encourage women everywhere in real time rather than waiting for what sometimes could be a slow process when it comes to certain publishing. Now, let me go ahead and read a poem with you guys, okay? Now, this is She Shines Anyway, 76 Poems for the Woman That Refuses to Dim Her Light. And you can find this book on Amazon.com or my website, bewellnesscenter.shop. The poem I want to read, you guys, is If It Costs My Peace, It Expired. All right? It used to excite me, now it exhausts me. It used to feel like connection, now it feels like performance. The energy shifted, and that was the sign. No fallout, no drama, just expiration. Peace is the new price. If it costs me that, it's too high. I no longer bargain with my nervous system to keep familiar chaos in my life. If it drains, confuses, or disrupts, it's done. No receipt is needed. All right. And that was from the book She Shines Anyway, which, like I just said, you can find this book on my website, bewellnesscenter.shop. Okay. Now, I want to start with the hot topic tonight. Let me have another sip of my drink. The hot topic tonight, which is something that we have been talking about for a few nights, which is the nationwide crisis on, different, on the internet, basically, that we've also been talking about on different college campuses as well. But tonight, we have some solutions for families. Now, we've been talking about this issue for several nights now, and we'll continue to talk about it in the future episodes because it is that urgent. Cyberbullying, algorithm manipulation, and the unchecked influence of unvetted people online is not just a passing concern. It's a nationwide crisis so serious that it is being openly discussed on college campuses across the country, including my own. But tonight, let's also talk about some solutions because if we're going to protect our families, we do need practical steps. First, when educating our children about what happens online, teach them to always go back and research the history of the people that they're following. Learn how to teach them to ask, who are they? What are they about? Do their values align with our future goals? Second, remember that it is 2025 and AI can actually be used as a positive tool. Show our kids how to use AI to research their favorite influencer. Encourage them to dig into whether this is someone worthy of respect or whether it may not even be a real person at all. Because with today's technology, fictional characters can be created using AI applications, complete with fake backstories and appearances. Finally, if it is a real person, ask the deeper questions. What do their family values look like? Are they the kind of values you would want to carry forward, or are you lining yourself with someone whose personal life stands in direct conflict with your own growth and goals? We can't just tell our children to be careful online. We must give them the tools to verify, evaluate, and align. And that's how we push back against the crisis and reclaim our influence as parents. And let me be crystal clear. In the past, many of us allowed our children to follow and idolize people who, when you actually research their backgrounds, were not role models at all. Some of these individuals presented themselves as polished or prestigious, but behind closed doors, they are horrible human beings. And that is why I teach my children that the only people you should ever look up to are those that you emphatically have known, that are emphatically known for making lasting contributions to humanity. People like great philosophers like Nietzsche or Kierkegaard, innovators like William Gates, or smart businessmen like Tim Cook, leaders and humanitarians like Howard Buffett or Bill Clinton. And equally important, I would never encourage my children to idolize people like, different types of celebrities or, artists that talk about or sing about or rap about putting other people down or killing or murder or stealing. People who profit by tearing others down. That goes against every core value that I hold as a parent. Legacy is about elevating humanity, not chasing fame, not degrading others. Personally, as a corporate executive parent who has raised children and continuing to raise children, something I would like to see in the future is either social media platforms being used for business purposes like they were initially supposed to be, or ensuring that people who are online posting on forums where children are present are licensed and have background checks and are true professionals, people who can actually be trusted when being around children, people that are legally allowed to be around children, okay? Like you have to be in any other professional setting. Now again, that's my personal preference as a mother of adult children in their 30s and a younger child who will one day want to be online. But also as a business professional, I don't want my brand or my family's legacy intertwined with individuals who glorify chaos, nudity, or exploitation. This is also one of the reasons why I did write my book, Do Your Job, A Parent's Manifesto, to privacy, protection, and power, which is available on Amazon and BeWellnessCenter.shop. I wrote it because too many parents are unaware of the silent dangers that their children faced online. And I want to give families a roadmap to safeguard what matters most: protection, privacy, and legacy. And the bottom line is this: if we refuse to do background checks on the people influencing our children, or even the people we partner with in business, it will cost us dearly later. And protecting our children, our business, and our legacy means refusing to let strangers with fake resumes or quick buck mindsets water down what we've spent generations building. Okay? And so, yeah, that's how I feel about that, you know? Let's shift for just a few minutes and let's talk about the feature book for tonight, if that's okay with you guys. This is the featured book of the night. Dan Dyer, often called the father of motivation, was a world-renowned self-help author and motivational speaker. Born in 1940 and raised in foster homes, his early life was marked by hardship, which he later turned into a foundation for teaching, resilience, and personal growth. He became a counselor, a professor, and eventually a bestseller author whose work impacted millions worldwide. Dr. Dyer was known for blending psychology, spirituality, and practical strategies for living with purpose. He published over 40 books, including classics like Your Erroneous Zones, one of the best-selling books of all time with over 35 million copies sold, The Power of Intention, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, and Manifest Your Destiny. His teaching centered around self-empowerment, breaking free from limiting beliefs, and living authentically. Now, about Excuses Be Gone. It was published in 2009, and Excuses Be Gone explores the countless excuses people use to hold themselves back. Excuses like, it will be too difficult, I don't deserve success, I've always been this way, I can't afford it, I'll start tomorrow. And Dyer argues that these excuses aren't rooted in truth. They're conditioned beliefs. He presents a 7-step process for permanently eliminating excuses and replacing them with empowering thoughts like awareness, alignment, choice, confidence, compassion, persistence, and affirmation. And when I was introduced to this book by a male friend who was going through a divorce at the time, he explained how it helped him process guilt, release excuses, and stay focused on his career in corporate America at the time when it could have all fallen apart. This book is not just about personal growth, it's about freedom. It gives readers permission to release the past, to stop blaming circumstances, and to finally take ownership of their choices. For parents, executives, or anyone navigating life's transitions, it's a manual for living intentionally without excuses. And that does tie back to what we're talking about in our hot topic. Just as individuals must remove excuses to thrive, society can no longer excuse the harms of unchecked platforms, whether it's excuses for why social media can be so harmful, or excuses that parents use for not guiding their children online. Wayne Dyer's message reminds us that excuses never create legacy. Responsibility does. Okay? And so I want to take a little break, take a breath, and have a little sip of my drink. And I'm going to shift for a moment and talk about the Menopause Minute. So guys, plug your ears for a second. I know. But yeah, so tonight's wellness tip is about sleep quality. But let's expand on that conversation a little bit, because sleep at this stage isn't just about rest. It's a foundation for brain health, heart health, hormonal balance, and even skin vitality. Studies show that women in midlife who prioritize quality sleep reduce the risk of depression, cardiovascular disease, and memory decline. Practical tips include shutting down screens at least an hour before bed to protect natural melatonin production, cooling rituals, keeping bedrooms between 60 to 67 degrees improves deep sleep. Nutrition, rich foods and magnesium like almonds and leafy greens support relaxation. Routine, going to bed and waking up at consistent times regulates our rhythms. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a strategy for resilience, clarity, and long-term wellness. And it is important because, like we've been talking, menopause can start anywhere between 35 and 55, sometimes sooner, sometimes later. I'm in the middle of going through it, but I can definitely tell the difference when I'm getting my consistent sleep. And I'm definitely at that age where I do have to be consistent with getting good sleep. It is so necessary. It's not just about how I look on the outside when I don't get it. It's about how I feel on the inside. And how I feel on the inside definitely does dictate a lot on how I treat other people. And there's no reason to walk around treating people bad because I haven't had good sleep. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, so let's go ahead and shift over to Business Corner, you guys. So executives, let's make this plan. Protecting your brand online is not optional, it's essential. Algorithms influence reputation, partnerships, and visibility. And in the same time, we teach our children to research who they follow. We, as leaders, must research who we align with. Okay, so tonight's AI-powered tools make it easier, I said tonight, but I meant today. Today's AI tools make it easier than ever to conduct due diligence. For example, we have different, tickers like LinkedIn, which is really MSFT, which is for Microsoft, which allows us to do researching, professional history, and endorsement. You have Zoom Info, which the ticker is ZI, which is corporate intelligence on companies and employees. And I'm going to write these down for you guys. Hold on just a second. I'm going to write these down. So we have SFT, and then we have ZI. All right, so we have MSFT, which is for Microsoft, or LinkedIn, but really we were talking about LinkedIn, right? So we have LinkedIn, but the ticker that we would use for that is Microsoft's, which is MSFT. And then we have Zoom Info, ZI. We have Right Hire, which is private, and Sterling Check, STER, STER. Okay, then we have Adobe, which is ADBE, and we have Google, GOOGL, Google Search, and algorithm monitoring tools. All right, now Adobe is essential for digital brand design, creative security, and marketing oversight. Sterling is one that we would use to check the backgrounds for our employees. All right, then you have Meta, META, investigating heavily. They are investing heavily in AI right now through Llama, okay, which is the large language model for Meta AI. Then you have Amazon's ticker, which is AMZN, which is leading in e-commerce, logistics, cloud computing through AWS, and publishing platforms like KDP. All right. Hold on. Then you have, as of 2025, some of the best tools for researching companies and even our children's favorite influencers. So we were talking about these before, like ZI, Sterling, okay, Google, Sterling, Google, MSFT. These are indispensable not only for executives, but also for guiding our children on who they follow or who we allow them to be influenced by. As corporate executive parents, we know that if these platforms are indispensable in business, they are worth considering for our investment portfolios. Yes, right? But it's not just about business. It's about using the tools. It's about owning shares in the infrastructure that sustains them. So, what I do is I help corporate executive parents and grandparents who are expanding their legacies and building their own businesses or corporations on tools to use that will be beneficial and, more importantly, save hundreds and thousands of dollars, if not more. And one of my favorite tools currently is, in fact, using AI in different capacity. It is also really important as business executive parents to emphasize and drive home the point to our kids that when they go on social media, they must understand at all times that it is, in fact, a business. And yes, it could be used as entertainment, but what we see on the screen is definitely not real. And as executive parents who come from legacies of other professionals, we are grooming our children to also become business professionals. Understanding that everything is a business is essential. And what I love about 2025 is that it has never been easier to see this clearly. That's why our children need to understand that the only people that they should be looking up to are definitely not strangers online, but those who have contributed to making the planet better, and above all, of course, us, the parents. That is exactly why I wrote the book, Do Your Job, A Parent's Manifesto to Protection, Privacy, and Power, because these tools exist in protecting our children, our businesses, and our families, but too often they aren't being used. And my book is about reminding parents that protection and empowerment are not optional. They are, in fact, our job. Now, my friend leaned on excuses be gone to cut through guilt and excuses in his personal life. We must do that same thing in business. No more excuses for why we're not safeguarding our assets, our images, and our legacy. Okay? So, definitely make sure you share this information, and if the kids are online, you might as well go ahead and get a little piece of these stocks, a piece of this stock, okay? Because it's booming right now. Let me go ahead and shift. I'm gonna have another sip before I end this. I wanna go ahead and start closing down. So let me read the last poem of the evening from my book, She Shines Anyway, 76 Poems for the Woman That Refuses to Dim Her Light. All right, so rest is productive. Speaking of, right? I used to feel guilty for slowing down, like rest was something to earn, not something I deserved, but now I know rest is resistance, is protection, is preparation, is power. Rest is where clarity lives, where answers land, where the body resets and the spirit stops screaming. Productivity is not movement. Sometimes it's stillness, so you can move with purpose again. I don't owe the world my burnout. I owe myself my balance. Okay? And that was my book, or not my book, but my poem from my book, She Shines Anyway, 76 Poems for the Woman That Refuses to Dim Her Light. Okay? And let's see here. Well, I guess that's all I really have tonight. Okay? I gave us a reminder on how noisy the online world becomes, and it's our responsibility to carry our values, our truth, and our legacy with strength and clarity. And that's it. That's all I have for tonight, okay? And yeah, come back tomorrow. And until then, make sure you're shining. Have a good one.